Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Awakening Collective podcast. Hayley here, and thank you so much for joining me wherever you are in the world, whatever you're up to today. I am coming off the back of a cold, a bit of a head cold, so if I sound a little bit extra nasally, because I'm usually quite nasally, but if I sound a little bit extra funny and a bit stuffed up, that is why. So today we're talking about the 7 keys to the priestess path, but I just want to really talk about for a moment how we got here, because for those of you who may have been following me for a little while, you will know me more from talking about intuition and guide connection, and everything's taken quite the turn here in what I teach or what I'm bringing through to teach. And so I just wanted to speak to that a little bit before we go into these 7 keys of the Priestess Path. So like I said, I've been teaching on awakening and the ascension journey and the healing that comes with it for a while. The underlying message isn't changing, right? We are on this awakening path, on this awakening journey, and we're really learning how to ascend within ourselves in order to ascend as a collective on this planet. And I've always been really not against, that's a little bit, a bit much, but I'm not on board with the 3D to 5D narrative or the idea that we keep sending out the message that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. We're here to integrate all of us and everything that we are, the multidimensional beings that we are. And just this 3D and 5D narrative doesn't allow the capacity for us to understand. I don't think this is why people get stuck in awakening and can't seem to move forward, because the idea is that we are actually integrating spiritual into physical. We are actually integrating divine feminine and allowing divine feminine and divine masculine to work together. And so I just feel that these narratives keep us separated, and they're sometimes part of the problem for some people, right? Because 3D and 5D, like these dimensional frequencies, are very, very layered and very, very nuanced. And I think keeping it in this 3D bad, 5D good, 3D human, 5D love and light, 3D matrix, 5D spiritual oneness, doesn't do any work on dimensional frequencies, doesn't give them any justice or like even come close to explaining what they are. My point is that the whole reason we're awakening and ascending is to become spiritual human beings, not spiritual beings living a human existence. And the more we keep this narrative and keep this separation, the harder it's going to be for us. And so the Priestess Path brings in those teachings. It brings in the integration of divine feminine, brings in the integration of our spirituality into our everyday lives, so that we are walking with our intuition. We are walking with connection to our soul. We are walking with connection to our body, to the earth, and integrating all of that together like we used to, right? It's about integrating all of that together. And so I really just wanted to share what's been coming through for me. Like I said, for those of you who are new, you're not going to know this. For those of you who've been with me for a little bit, you know that I've been more about intuition, connecting to spirit guides. But from the beginning of this year, Goddess Isis has been stepping forward to me. And when she first came through, she was very subtle. They give you a bit of a minute to adjust. But she said to me, you're going to be bringing through and activating my priestesses and my children, she actually said. So what she's bringing is an activation of her lineage, her energetic lineage, and priestesses who have walked with her before, and who have her energetic codes and her energetic blueprints to really bring in and harness in the divine feminine on this planet, because it's really not here. And so this is what it's all about. It's about us as women activating the womb space, activating the connection to divine feminine, which is all about intuition, surrender, flow, living in service, all of these things that we're going to talk about today. activating that and really harnessing that down into us as individuals, into the planet, into the collective consciousness, so that we do get back that balance of feminine and masculine. And I'm talking about the energies and the divine energies. We're not talking like matriarchy, patriarchy. That's a whole different thing. So that's what's been coming through. And she started bringing that through. Then Mary Magdalene started coming through. Athena, Aphrodite, Mother Mary, who started talking to me and guiding me into this course that I'm bringing up. Or bringing out, shortly. It's the foundations of what they're bringing through, and what we're going to talk about today are the foundations of this program of the Sacred Priestess Initiation. So yeah, I wanted to talk about that today, start sharing it so that you know where I'm at, you know where I'm going, because for some of you, you'll be like, okay, well, this is a bit much for me now, or it's not kind of where I was going. And then for others, you'll be like, yeah, bring it on. Like, this is what I'm here to do. Like, I have a real connection to this, and what you're saying makes sense. And I want to be a part of this, right? Because you know in your soul if you are a part of this, you know if you're part of the Priestess Path, you know if you're connected to Isis, Goddess Isis, you know if you're part of this lineage, because this will already start to activate you into going, something will be going on in your body and in your energy as you listen to people talk about this, not just me, like anyone talk about these goddesses that I'm going to talk about now, and also the Priestess Path. So let's get into it. Let's talk about these 7 keys, and the 7, I'm calling it that at the moment because that's what's just coming through, but so bringing through, these 7 keys are 7 different goddesses, one collective, but 7 different goddesses. And so they're bringing through their teachings, their knowledge, their knowing, and different healings and activations for us individually. And these are sort of teachings and tools that they bring through, energies that they bring through that we can work with on a daily basis to actually integrate spirituality into our everyday life, so that we actually start living soul aligned. We tap into our soul, we follow that, then we walk our highest timeline, right? We live in purpose. So the first is more of a collective of beings, and this is the 7 sisters of the Pleiades. And I've been working with and closely connected to these beautiful sisters for a while, and I love them to bits, and they're known as the Divine Mothers. And so they bring cosmic connection. They bring us the understanding is that we're not just one planet of beings here, that there are many different collectives out there, that we are connected to these collectives through our DNA, through our energy, that we are lineages of these different collectives out there in the cosmos. And they're also known as the Divine Mothers, and ancient text will have us understand that they are actually the original mothers of all humans. Now, if you've born up in religion, this is going to probably grate you a little bit, but they are the original mothers of the earth and gave birth to a lot of the start of humanity here. So yeah, they bring us that cosmic connection, the understanding that we are part of such a bigger picture when it comes to not just, who we are as humans, but in the role that we have to play within the universe, and how important this ascension and what's going on our planet isn't just about Earth and isn't just about humanity as a collective. It's about a much bigger picture, and a lot of what happens here is affecting and will affect other solar systems, other planets in our solar system. So they bring that beautiful cosmic connection to us. So that's the 7 sisters with the first key, which is our cosmic connection. So next we have Goddess Sophia, who is the divine wisdom keeper. She brings us knowledge and knowing of cosmic wisdom and a deep connection to that divine feminine energy. She reminds us that we are also divine wisdom keepers through this beautiful energetic space, this portal, this stargate that is our womb space. And she helps us to really clear and heal more collective trauma out of this space, and more of a deep cosmic trauma out of this space rather than individual. So, when we get down to talking about Aphrodite, she brings more of that personal womb space healing, whereas Sophia is more about a collective energy. And to me, I've got to go through some of this stuff again that I've read about Sophia in terms of, her story and, written in more ancient text. But to me, Sophia's, I suppose, what we might call fallen. And to me, she is the feminine half of God. God's become, and the idea of God has become very masculine. And the way that I'm seeing it at the moment, and this may change when I go back and reread and relook at some of these writings, is that she, that was separated. And so, God was both masculine and feminine. We need, we all know that we need both halves and both sides of that. Everything needs that polarity. But God was, taken into be more of this masculine energy and this kind of being, and the feminine was taken out, and that is Sophia. And so what is happening is that this Sophia energy, this divine feminine energy, with what we're doing in activating these priestess paths and harnessing divine feminine into ourselves, into the planet, is bringing that Sophia energy back to make God whole in the way that we see it and the way that we look at it, right? So that's what I've taken that for so far. And like I said, as I go back and read again and go back and have a look, I might add more to that and bring more of that in. But that's what she's bringing to us, just that beautiful anchoring of the divine feminine and connection to that womb space. So the next is our beautiful goddess Isis, the magical healer, and she's really here to help us with that personal power. I mean, she is a grand high priestess. I mean, this chick knew what she was doing. She was so in tune with her power as a woman, as a healer, as an intuitive, with her leadership and the way that she led her mystery school. And she really brings, she's sort of like the overseer of this whole thing. And she's just here activating her lineage and, just getting us to stand in our personal power, own our gifts, own who we are as women, own our place, own our place as humans as well in the cosmic and intergalactic space, because if you're on your awakening journey, you'll understand how suppressed humans have been, and it's because we do hold so much power. And once we start stepping into that personal power and integrating spirituality, like, the sky's the limit for us, because we have so much collective DNA from so many amazing collectives out there in the universe, that when we start activating all of that and pulling all of that together, we're actually going to be quite an advanced race. And that's what some people are worried about. So she's here to help us bring back that personal power as who we are, of human beings and women and individuals, so that we are standing up for ourselves, and we're standing in our power, and we're standing in our truth. We have self-worth, we have self-value, all of those beautiful things. But she really is activating that healer in us, activating the priestess in us, activating the gifts in us. And big job. Big job for her, but she can handle it. So the next is Athena, and Athena is known as the warrior, and she was actually a bit of a badass in her day. But she comes through to us with love and knowledge and knowing. And, like I said, she's known as the warrior. She's known as being very strategic and all of that kind of thing. But for this purpose and how she's coming through to me with this key is to get us to understand that we have so much knowledge and so much knowing that we can't even, imagine at this moment. And so she starts allowing us to activate and bring that through and to understand that within ourselves. Not only do we have, she brings through that concept of, we don't only have so much knowledge from this lifetime and knowing from this lifetime that we need to own and be proud of and be privy to and use, through the experiences, the healing, the things that we've learned and done in this lifetime and how much we've grown as a person, as a woman in where we are now, but that we also have so much access to knowledge and knowing from other lifetimes, from cosmic resources, from, just the universe in general and the Akashic records. And so she brings forward energy to help us understand that we have access to all of this and, how to use this on a day-to-day basis. But she's also about justice. She is also about strategy. And the other thing that she brought through to me this morning is spiritual strategy. So it's knowing and getting the confidence in the tools that you have spiritually. So, what do you do when you've got healing coming up? What are the strategies that you have to help you through it? So listening to your intuition, or, maybe you love going for a walk in the forest, but sort of knowing the tools that you have and how to use them so that you can move through if healing's coming up and if like craziness is going on the outside collectively, that you can use those tools strategically to get you through and not knock you off track. So she comes through with that as well. So yeah, she's got a lot to share and a lot to offer us and a lot to activate within us. The next key comes through the beautiful Mary Magdalene, the mystic devotee, and she brings us devotion to the path, devotion to spirituality, devotion to self. She also brings us integrity, sovereignty, and discernment. So she was known as the rebel. And the reason is because she knew herself so well. She knew her principles, she knew what she stood for, and she would not back down to anybody that tried to push her off that. And if it wasn't in line with her, if it wasn't in line with her beliefs, then she would not do it. And so she was known as a rebel. She was the one who pushed back. She would have been one of those people during the shmo who refused to have a jib jab because it went against her integrity and she wouldn't do it. And so whatever, people would get her to try and do that she didn't believe in, that didn't align with her, then she'd say no, stuff you. And so that's what she brings to us. She reminds us to stand in integrity. She reminds us to be devoted to self, be devoted to, our healing, be devoted to our spirituality, be devoted to our body, be devoted to the earth, be devoted to each other and to the path and to ascension. And to be doing that with deep love and just respect. Think of all of those kind of traits. That's what she's really bringing forward. But she was just an amazing healer too, and been learning a lot about her as well, and a lot of the suppression of her story, and finding out more through ancient texts of how her story was distorted and, by way of the patriarchy taking over spirituality and taking over Christianity to, make it more about the men. So that's been an interesting journey too, working with her and learning more about her. And I suggest you do that if you feel called to, because, she really was a fabulous, fabulous lady. So the next key in our path comes from the beautiful Aphrodite, who I'm not kidding, I love her. She is known as the divine lover, and it's funny because when I think about Aphrodite and from what I've learned about Aphrodite, she's just this like saucy, sexy siren who just lures men into, that kind of thing. And when I saw the divine lover or the divine lover came through, I was like, that's not, like, that can be interpreted in different ways. And what the divine lover actually means that divine love of self, that divine love of another. Not the divine lover as in, she's pretty good in the sack or anything like that. So Aphrodite brings through a lot of self-love, self-acceptance, acceptance of womanhood. Like I said earlier, she is helping us to heal, clear the shame out of that womb space, the shame out of the sacral chakra around our womanhood, the suppression, and also the suppression of the voice, because the suppression of the female voice. But she brings a beautiful emerald energy. And so she's very much also about the heart space, loving self, loving, like I said, loving who you are as a woman, loving your woman bits and pieces. And like I talked a little while back about how much we hate on our bodies, how we hate on our cycle, like our menstrual cycle, and it's become this big inconvenience and a pain in the ass, and all of this stuff. And she's bringing back the understanding with, obviously through Sophia too, that the importance of that womb space, the love we need to have for that womb space, and, really accepting womanhood, getting back into, just how magical we actually are, and that we really truly are a portal for life. So yeah, that's the kind of things that she brings to us. So she helps us just rid that past life trauma, this life trauma around that space, and things that may have happened to us and things that we have held in there. So yeah, a lot of self-love, self-acceptance, self-worth with Aphrodite, and like just a beautiful energy and such a magical healer. Like the couple of times that I've worked with her with other people, she's actually brought us through to her temple, and she has this crystal bed. So it's like you lie on the crystal bed, but then she plays crystal chimes above you, to get that resonance that sweeps through the body. So yeah, lovely healer as well, and just brings in, in her temple, when I go in there, there's just women everywhere just loving themselves and nurturing themselves, rubbing oil into their hands and bathing in milk with rose petals everywhere. It's that real self-nurture and self-love that she brings to us. So she's a really important one. And the last key is about service. And this is brought to us by the beautiful Mother Mary, the compassionate nurturer. And so this is where we start to think about service. This is where we get that purpose activated. How are we here to serve? And how can we do that with love, with compassion, with all of those fifth dimensional frequencies around unity and empathy and all of those things? So she brings us that activation of pouring into others, but Aphrodite needs to come first, because we cannot begin and keep pouring into others if we're not pouring into self. And if you are only pouring into others, that is not ascension. Ascension comes from self-love first and understanding self. And so we need to make sure we're really doing that deep work with love of self, as well as pouring out love to others. But obviously Mother Mary's also very much around family and children and being in service of that. Being in service of your family, children, friends, community, and how you're actually here to serve or lead, and lead in the way that you're here to. Because this isn't just about, when we talk about priestess codes and priestess paths and all of this spiritual stuff, it doesn't mean that you have to be a Reiki master or a medium or any other type of healer. We bring this sacred service. We bring these priestess codes through. We bring this divine feminine energy through whatever it is that we do. So you may be a nurse. You may be a kindy teacher. You may be a stay-at-home mum. You may, be in finance. You can still bring these sacred priestess codes and these keys into your work as those things. It's not about walking a spiritual path, meaning you have to teach spirituality. That's not what this is about. That's my job and that's what I'm here to do, but you may be here to bring this through, like I said, as a kinder teacher, as someone who is in finance. I've listened to this amazing podcast. It's called Wow. It's the Women of Wealth podcast. This beautiful woman in Melbourne who is a financial advisor, financial planner, certified, all the financial things, accountant. And she just pours so much love into what she brings to women in their financial security and how to handle money, where to put money, how to invest money. She's just so heart-centered and heart-spaced. And she's what we've probably been brought up to believe is the opposite, because it's all financial, it's very masculine, but she so beautifully blends her sacred feminine power and her feminine wisdom and her divine feminine energy into this space to just pour out love and service to women. So we don't have to be a Reiki practitioner to be walking this path. The one other thing that I just want to mention, so that's the 7 keys that come through. So we've got cosmic connection, cosmic wisdom from Sophia with that beautiful divine feminine energy, and that the womb space is a portal and a stargate. We get our personal power from that grand high priestess, goddess Isis. Athena brings us the integration of knowledge and knowing, and how much we have learned and accumulated, and that we need to be proud of that through this lifetime as well as other lifetimes. Mary Magdalene brings us that devotion. We have the key of self-love and self-acceptance, healing all of that shame around womanhood through the beautiful divine lover Aphrodite. And then our service, our purpose through Mother Mary, the compassionate nurturer. So they're the 7 keys that they're bringing through to me. And these are the things that I'm going to be teaching on from now on. The other thing that I'm bringing through, and that has come through a lot this week, is rainbow crystalline energy, which comes from the Lemurians, and then the Lemurian timeline, which is the civilization. There goes my cold. The civilization that we were before Atlantis, or kind of in that same time as Atlantis. And that's a lot of energy that's coming through too. So I know that I'm going to be working with that as well, especially at the moment. And it's one of the reasons why I'm not feeling 100% this week. I've had a lot of energetic upgrades through bringing this work in, and a lot of energy circulating, and my physical body has not been able to handle it. My physical body's been knocked around a little bit. And this is one of my key teachings at the moment, is to really look after and honor my physical body, to make sure that we can physically embody the changes in our DNA and the changes in the energy within our cells as we ascend. So, like I said, that's those keys, the Priestess Path. And so, yeah, I hope that it's sort of resonating with you, kind of giving you a little bit of ahas, or a little bit of, oh, yeah, okay, that sounds cool. And if it is something that you would like to dive into a little bit further, like I said, the Sacred Priestess Initiation Program will be coming soon. So you can join the wait list. I'll pop that below, where we do 7 weeks with all of these goddesses. So we learn about them in terms of who they were and what they were here to do and what they're here to do now. But then we also connect with them through meditation. They help us heal. They'll heal stuff out for us, activate us in different ways, and give us the tools that we need to work through our ascension. So yeah, the whole idea is, like I said, is that we're actually becoming a spiritual human being. So we want to use and take these tools and use them, integrate them into our everyday life, walk from this space, walk from these keys, walk from devotion, walk from intuition, move from personal power and self-love and service. That's how we ascend. That's how we, live in the 5D frequency. So yeah, I'll pop that link below. I'll also pop the link below to join the private Facebook group, and I do meditations and things in there, healings, all that kind of thing. So yeah, come and join us in there, and yeah, have a great week, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.